Welcome to the Haven for Soul Care, the podcast where we explore the art of nurturing the mind, body, and spirit. Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, insightful conversations, and practical tips to help you create a life of balance, peace, and purpose. Whether you're seeking guidance on personal growth, wellness, or simply needing a moment to reconnect, this is your safe space. I'm your host, Brianna, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in and take care of the soul. Welcome to another episode of the Haven for Soul Care. We are here with Andrea. And I am excited because we're going to talk about a subject that is most dear to my heart, especially in this season, as I am exploring online dating and all of what comes with it at the age that I am. So I'm going to hand it over to you and let you introduce yourself and tell the people who you are. And we're going to get straight into the tea because I'm ready for it.
I like the tea. Hi, I'm Andrea McGinty, and I have been doing this my entire life since high school, actually, which is bizarre. I fixed up one of my high school friends who got married. Two of my college roommates got married through me. And then I never ever thought this was going to be my career. But when I was stood up at the altar, when I was in my 20s, I was getting married, and boom, all of a sudden I wasn't. I came up with this idea. It was called It's Just Lunch, and it was a matchmaking service. And it grew and grew and grew. And here I am, an accounting and finance person. But I loved fixing people up, and I just, was good at it. And so anyway, It's Just Lunch really took off, and I had 110 locations worldwide and 700 employees. Oh my gosh. And anyway, I sold it a few years ago, sold out to a private equity firm, but I really saw the writing on the wall because I saw what was going on with online dating, and I knew, wow, people just did not know what they were doing with online dating. And it really started with my brother. So I'm the oldest of six. And this is my brother that I'm really close to. He got divorced. He was like in his late 40s, early 50s. And he went online. This is about 10 years ago. And when he went online, he's like, oh God, Andrea, these dates, they're awful. These women, blah, 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 blah. So I said, Jim, okay, give me your password. Let me go into your account. Let me see what you're doing. So I go into his account and I look around and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a guy who is a successful man. He's CFO of a company, but he's a guy. He puts up these photos. You know, when you go online and you see these pictures of men like holding a fish or a bathroom shot. I mean, my brother was not that bad, but these horrible pictures. And I was like, oh, I can fix this. So anyway, bottom line, the next thing I knew, his friends were calling me, and I was back to my matchmaking ways, but doing it with online dating. And part of the issue is that people just don't know what they're doing. And there's over 1,400 dating sites out there. So when you think about it, how do you know how to pick the right one? You're in North Carolina. North Carolina. So you might have a girlfriend in New York who tells you, oh, you know what? Match.com is great, but it might not be great in North Carolina. You might belong on, Zeus or OkCupid might be much stronger in your area. So like that's the first part is, choosing the right place to be. And then there's so many other components that go into it, but it's us, it's our age group. And I don't know how old you are, but I wrote this book, Second Acts, Winning Strategies for Dating, for women, for people over 50, not just for women, but for people over 50, because we woke up one day and we were, 45 or 55, and we didn't expect to be single or still single or divorced or widowed. And all of a sudden everything's changed. It's not like when we were in our 20s where we went to the bars or we met people in college or we met people, in the workplace. It's changed. We've been out of the system for like 20 or 30 years.
Yes, and it's almost like a shock to the system for me as I'm out there because I'm 45 and I don't even know how to start. I don't even know what to do. And I don't. And I thought I like that you brought up the fact that every site is not for everybody, depending upon your area. Because I never thought about that. Because I have a sister who's in another state, and she said that there was a service that she uses, and she's like, "Oh, it's wonderful." And I'm going here, and I'm eating lunch here, and I've met this, and I'm like, "That's not my story."
Right, right. No, I totally understand. And that's a lot of people's story. I mean, think about, it's like throwing a dart. There's 1,400 sites out there. How do you pick? How do you choose? And then if you choose the wrong one, you're so discouraged right off the bat that you're like, I'm not doing this. Online is awful. And everyone thinks online dating is awful until they meet someone. Then it's like, oh, online dating is wonderful. They totally changed their tune
Yeah.
about online dating, and that's really why I wrote the book Second Acts,
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't think we were going to face this, and we don't know what to do. And we may have children, we may have teens, we may have kids in college or out of the house, and all of a sudden we have a lot more time, and we're thinking, okay, you're 45, you've got like another 40 or 50 years to live, like
Yeah.
you want to live it alone. Some people want to live it alone, but most people, they want a partner. I mean, when they come to me, some people want to get married, some people want a long-term partner, some people want to live together, but they want the partnership. So it might look like different things, but they want the partner.
Yeah. So I want us to get into more of some of the things that your book is going to help us with, and also you as a um, coach can help us with. One of the things that I have found with these sites is that, like, so I use Facebook dating. I just saw it. They were saying that they did it, and I said, well, I did it, but then I became overwhelmed. I did meet one person, and it seemed to be going well, but then here comes the famous, we let's just text all the time. Then I got another gentleman had inboxed me or whatever it is you do on these sites. And he said that he thought that I wasn't really approachable. And this is based off of my pictures.
Wow. I would say that's about him. That's not about you. Because self confidence and self confident photos are very sexy. So I would say that was probably his issue with maybe not being ready for a strong woman or a self confident woman.
Mhm.
Now, when we go back to Facebook, now Facebook's an interesting animal because
Mhm.
I look at Facebook as kind of the very bottom of all the dating sites. And then it goes all the way up to the really expensive matchmakers. And then
Mhm.
there's all this other stuff in between. So, why I say it's at the bottom, it's at the bottom because it's free. And that's what some people like about it. And that's what I do not like about it. Because when you don't have any skin in the game, you don't have any skin in the game. You're kind of like, oh, I'm going to look around. Now, what I do like about Facebook, of course, they have so much data on us, and they know exactly where we live. So they're pulling men or women like right in our immediate area. That's the great part about it. I wish Facebook charged, even like $30 or $50 a month, because then you're going to get rid of all those like looky loos.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
because who needs those people? That's not what you're there for. So that's one of the important things, and I talk about that in my book. Pay. Make sure you're on a paid site, and it's
Mhm.
not going to break the bank. It's going to be $25 to $40 a month, and
Mhm.
you're worth it.
I like that because in counseling, I always say if you're not willing to pay for your services, then you're not willing to put the work in to get better.
You're absolutely right. And, as a dating coach, when I have people who they're spending the money to use me as a coach, and then they're balking at paying for Match.com or eHarmony. I'm like, wait a minute, you're paying me so much more, and you won't pay that $40. And the other place I'd say invest a little money, and this is probably about $200. And I just had this conversation with a client this morning because I went through all of her photos. We're just getting her all ready because as a dating coach, I write your profile, I pick the right site, and I can get more into that later. But the photos, I mean, it's a visual medium. It's so important that you have good photos. And going to a professional photographer, there's so many of them out there. And I especially like this one service. It's called Snapper. And I have nothing to do with them. So I'm not making any money off Snapper. But what I like about them, you can tick off the box that you want this for online dating. So they know
Hmm.
exactly, the photographer knows what you're doing. You're not doing this for LinkedIn or for work or something like that. And they'll be really good at getting photos of you in real life, like photos of you walking your dog, playing pickleball, playing golf, hiking, doing stuff where you're not just, posing and standing
And
there. And and the action shots are really, really helpful when men are looking at you online. They're
Mhm.
getting your interest down just from glancing at the photo, because men don't read. They look at the photos, and then maybe they'll read if they get through 4 or 5 photos and they're like, she's attractive, she's attractive, she's attractive. Okay, I'll read a little bit. If you wrote, 800 words about yourself, they're going to get through the first 3 sentences. That's it. I don't
Mm.
care if you're the hottest thing going. They're just not going to read, and then they're going to go right to messaging. But they're not going to read about you. So the other thing is, with your profile, keep it really short, and quirky and interesting.
Mhm.
Some unique things about you. I'll give you a quick example. I This client that I was working with yesterday, um, her mother is British, and when she was about 5 years ago, she worked for a member of parliament in Britain. So that was a really fun fact about her. And she had like 3 fun facts like that. And that's basically what I wrote for her profile. Here's 3 fun facts about me. And we had the 3 fun facts. And one of them was a dessert that she makes that is incredible. And we described it. But, from the member of parliament to this dessert to, I can't remember what the third thing was, but it was just like, oh, this is interesting. And she already texted me last night and said, I'm getting hits from
Wow.
mhm, from decent men.
Yes, because I think that's so would you say that depending upon one's profile, because I want to talk about the pictures. So how many professional pictures should one have on their site or on their profile versus just but the snapper really does sound like it's going to get you in an everyday life. But for some of us who already have our professional pictures, how many should we have up there? Should the whole
Okay, we should have up 5 or 6 photos. That's it. You don't want to overdo it with photos, and it can be a mixture of 3 of your professional photos. And again, I don't mean fakey photos like, your LinkedIn look, the
Mhm.
posed look. No, no, because they'll know it's a posed photo. But, photos that your friends just snapped on their iPhone, New Year's Eve photo, or in front of the Christmas tree photo, or ice skating photo, just like that were snapped with your iPhone. So I mix them up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
So after one works with you and you set their profile up, right? So you
right.
got them, they're all ready. So do you coach them beyond like when they're getting ready to go on their first date?
Oh, you bet I do. Because we kind of skipped a whole step there that's super important. From photos to date, there's a big piece missing, and you probably know
Okay.
what it is: messaging. because
Yeah.
you got to, oh my gosh. And this is what I tell women all the time. You, because I work with men too, half my clients are men. And
Mm-hmm.
men's number one complaint with women online is that women will send them likes or winks or, hearts, but they won't send a message. And then it's like if they just threw the ball back at the man, the ball's back in the men's court, and he has to like come up with something to say. So I encourage women, and I get pushback, maybe not so much from our age group, but
Mm-hmm.
like more from like the late 50s, early 60s. They'll be like, oh, no, he should reach out to me first. He should message me. I'm like, no, 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 that's not how it works anymore. That's how maybe it worked in your 20s,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't work like that anymore. So sending a message that is interesting, you do not wait for him to message you. You identify somebody online, you read about him, you're like, oh, yep, he's definitely my cup of tea. I'm going to send him a message, and you're not going to say, hi, how was your weekend? Or hi, how's your day going? No, that is like so boring. It's just like, it's a nothing. It's such a vanilla thing to say. You want to say something interesting. Maybe he has a picture of himself scuba diving somewhere, and you can, come back with, I just got back from Australia at the Great Barrier Reef and loved it and saw a, whatever kind of sea creature. And I love your smile. Let's skip the phone call and everything, and let's just grab lunch. I'm available Thursday and Friday for lunch. How does that
Really,
sound to you? Oh, yes.
really.
Oh, yes. Those phone calls, all right, let's talk. Can we talk about phone calls for a minute?
Yes, please, because I'm lost. I'm lost over here.
Okay, those phone calls. Whenever we can skip them, we skip them, because phone calls do one of two things. You either have this phone call with the person after a couple of messages back and forth, and the phone call goes great. It's like fabulous, and you're so excited for the date now. You've already called three of your girlfriends, like, I met the one. This is going to be the one. I just know it. So your expectation level is so high. The other way it goes is you have this really boring conversation. Maybe he's shy over the phone. Maybe maybe you are. Maybe you don't really know what to say, and then you end up never meeting. And he could have totally been your man. That could have totally been it, and you've never met. On the other hand, going into the date with really high expectations, nobody's going to meet that expectation, from that
Mm-hmm.
fabulous phone call. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to say, if they insist on a phone call or you insist on a phone call, then in the last message you send them, if you have to do that phone call, I would say something like this: looking forward to chatting with you for 10 minutes to see if we'd like to meet in real life. I'm available Thursday and Friday for lunch. What did we just do? We put boundaries. This
Mm-hmm.
call is not going to be more than 10 minutes, and it's only to know if we want to meet in real life. That's it.
Wow. So, so, so we're keeping it short. If we do have that phone conversation, for one, we're being assertive. We're being assertive. It's all right, women, to approach a man if you see him and you like him. We're being assertive. We can put it out there by the phone call. If not, we can put it out there that we're available. We would love to meet for a date. Okay. So he says yes. I want to meet you Thursday at noon. Okay. So now here we go. What do we do? Because we're getting ready to meet someone, and how do you start an interesting conversation?
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick a place that you're comfortable in. So make sure it's somewhere you've been to before, and don't do the coffee thing. Just don't, because it's not a real date. It's not. It's like, oh, I could blow in and out of there in 20 minutes. It's not like giving the person enough time. You know what? If it's lunch, hey, maybe it's 50 minutes, an hour. If you don't like them, but you had to eat anyway, right? And
Hmm.
and look at it this way: if you don't like them, it's a practice date for you. And
Mhm.
that's what I also tell people when they haven't dated for 20 years after a long, marriage or relationship. You need the only way you're going to get self confidence is like 4 practice dates. I mean, maybe you'll get lucky. One of those practice dates ends up being him. But you know what? They're practice dates. By the time you go on like that 5th date, you're like, oh, I've got this. I've totally got this.
Mm. You know, I want to ask you a question. If we hire you, because we're going to get into how we get in contact with you and all of this, because this is really good for some of us who are just, I call myself just slow in this area, and I used to not be. Um, I want to say, can you be in our ear as we're on this, as we're on this?
You know what? Sometimes I'm in your ear, like in the car as you're going to the date
Yeah.
and talking to you. And sometimes I'm talking to you right afterwards. I mean, no, I can't be in your ear on the date, but the this is what I would start with before like you spend a lot of money hiring a dating coach. I would say, start with my book because what my book is going to do, it's Second Acts Winning Strategies for Dating, and it's got 166 strategies. So these are strategies that I actually practice and I give my clients. And the other thing is, the book has 14 different worksheets in it, and it's got QR codes that you snap. And then there's a 4-minute video from me about each of these topics because you're going to write like a personal branding statement. You're going to write a business plan about dating, and it's going to be fun. And I walk you through how to do all of this stuff to get to your goal, and how to get you to the right conversations to have on the first date, the topics to talk about, the topics to stay away from. um
Mhm.
I mean, think of it as you were at a cocktail party and you wouldn't ask somebody that you just met at a cocktail party, so what happened with you? I see you don't have a ring on. What happened to you and your ex? Could
So,
right?
right. So let's talk about that question. I've been on a couple of dates, and that was the question. And I was actually asked by a gentleman. He said, "So you're beautiful. Are you hard to get along with on the first date?"
What did you say? I want to hear your answer.
I told him no. I said I was a single mother, and I chose to stay single to raise my children.
You know what? That's a perfect answer. And if you had been married, if it was a bad marriage or just you grew apart, it doesn't matter what kind of marriage. If that kind of thing came up on my answer to that question is, oh, I never talk about exes on my first date, and I'm not going to ask you any questions either. And you know what? That'll shut them right down.
Oh, wow. Oh, that now I like that. I like that. I have, you know, so we're gonna go out and get your book. Um, we can get it on Amazon, correct? I have
Right.
the link in the bio. Because it sounds like your book is packed with just about the foundation, full of the foundation of what we're going to be needing, right?
It's going to take you A to Z from like getting your head straight. Like, am
Mhm.
I ready to start dating again? Because that's the first question you have to ask yourself. Am I ready? And when people call me on the phone, like before I even take somebody as a client, I do a 15-minute call first. And sometimes I'll say at the end, you know something? I think you should wait a little while. I think like maybe they just got divorced, or maybe there's people in their 40s that are widowed, that and I can tell they're not ready. And I'm like, you know what? I will be here in 6 months. I will be here in a year. Call me then. But give yourself time to grieve and get through this before. So it's everything from, is your head there? Are you ready for this? To, what's the goal? What's the end goal? Do I want to get married? Do I want long term? Do I just want somebody to travel with? Do I just want somebody to go out to nice dinners and theater and things like that with? Do I want a pickleball partner? What do I want? So it
Mhm.
walks you through all those questions. And that's important to know what you want.
That's good. I want you to give the audience, because I thought about a question of, I was talking to a girlfriend who is now, I think she's a pro on pro level with the online dating, and but she hasn't had any luck. And one of her questions were, how do you really know if he's, I'm gonna use my own language, safe? How do you know if he's really a safe person? When we say safe, I mean, if they're moving too fast, or they say in the beginning, hey, this is what they want, but then as they're moving along, how do you identify these things within the person that you've met online? Does that make, am I making sense to you?
Yes, you're making total sense. A lot of that is you're going to have to trust your gut and your instinct, and your gut and your instinct are most likely going to be correct. I mean, actions speak louder than words. If it starts out, I'll give you an example. It starts out really fast, and then suddenly he's really busy. He's really busy. He doesn't text when he says he's going to text. He breaks plans. Uh, this is in the first month or two of dating. Run. He's not the man for you. um Safe. When you say safe, I don't think you mean like safe, like to go out on a date with, that he's going to mug you, or something like that.
Yeah,
No,
no.
that's not what it's about. It's just about like what is he looking for. And but that's not a question that's going to come up on the first date, nor should it. It's not appropriate. But
Mm-mm.
by the fourth or fifth date, you'll have conversations about, by then, about, you're a single mom who raised your children. You made a decision not to marry, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll come up, like why you made that decision, and you'll talk about, deeper things. But that's like date five, date six,
Okay.
and as far as, if you're really worried, I've had clients, that they have money, and then they're worried, like, is she a gold digger? Is he a gold digger? I mean, it goes both ways. And there are sites, and I go over the sites in the book. They're free sites that you can put their information in and right away see, does this person have any financial issues? Do they have any liens, on their house? Have they filed for, a bankruptcy? Because those are things, I'd want to know,
Mm-hmm.
about a person.
Yeah.
Now, do all my clients do that? No. No, all of them don't check that. But I have some that do, and it's probably because in their divorce or in a previous relationship they got burned by something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
be a little cautious, and you don't want to give all you got. Let everything out.
Mm-hmm.
On the first couple of dates.
I think that is where I have made mistakes, because I'm a very transparent person. And I talked to a guy. I just went out the other day with one, and I mean, we were at the table for 2 hours.
Okay.
Conversation was wonderful. I mean, we talked about, oh, right, and it was a breath of fresh air, of course, for me, because a lot of times I don't get that open communication with a lot of men. And so, I mean, we were laughing, and conversations went from here to there, and it did touch on some personal things. So,
Like what kind of things?
we talked about kids. We talked about marriage, not with us being married, of course, or nothing like that, but just some of our experiences. Why this person hadn't been married, why I hadn't been married. We talked about religion, and we talked about things that, what you, I think from what you're saying, it should have, it could have been conversations on down the line, like date number four, maybe number five, six, seven. But I mean, because I mean, when I say we talked about a lot of stuff, we did.
And what was the outcome of that date?
Oh gosh, we're still talking. And
So is there going to be another date?
yes, we're
Uh,
we're arranging it now.
Good, good. That makes me really happy to hear, because, it sounds like, I mean, it's normal to talk about kids on a date. I met my husband through online dating. He was my sixth first date, and I remember in our first date, we didn't talk about our exes, but he told me, how many kids he had and how old they were and, what colleges they were at. And I talked a little bit about my daughter too, because that's normal conversation. That's just normal. Now, what would not have been normal would have been asking him, why he got divorced and what did his ex-wife do? You know, what?
Oh my. So maybe because it's hard.
Uh-oh.
So my friends know that and one of my friends says that I'm terrible about this. So she says you need to turn your therapist's brain off. Turn it off when you're on your dates. And so I'm listening and I do start asking those questions. I had a man that he told me that he had been married before, but he said he had been married 3 times. And I said, "Oh, what happened?" And by the time we finished that portion of the conversation, I said, you're the but I said, you're the problem because you're having, and I went in straight into, and and my friend said, now I don't know if he's gonna ever call you again. She said, why would you? I said, but I couldn't help. I said, I couldn't help it.
Oh my gosh, you went into therapist mode. But you know what? Do you really want a man who's been married 3 times?
I want a man who hasn't dealt with their issues.
Yeah, you know what? Oh, you know what? You're gonna have to be careful on your dates because you've got that empathetic side and that therapist side and then you're listening, and that's a little too much. That's a little too much where the conversation could jump to more to your interests, your music, your film, with your things you're interested in besides his 3 marriages.
I
'Cause
know.
that's a little heavy.
That was heavy, and and I agree with you. I think a lot of us who are in, especially with human service, any field of human service, and you got to listen to people. It's hard for you not to pick up on certain things and then automatically want to go into you need help. Let me help you get to the place you need to get. Another thing that I've been finding too is that when you are men who are lacking that emotional component in their life that they want to be heard, they want to be seen. Like we said, as women we want to be heard and we want to be seen, but there are large group of men that want the same thing. And so when you give that to them, like you're listening, you're attentive, and you are following along, um and you're giving them that peace, what I have been finding is that men are automatically going into the I really like you, but not as a dating, but as a friend. And I really want to keep you as a friend.
And keep him as a friend as long as he has lots of single friends that you can meet through him.
Oh, you better come on. Now, see, let me get my checkbook.
I'm serious because you know what? That do you need more friends? I mean, acquaintances, yeah, maybe, but I think you probably have enough friends, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, it's nice. I mean, it's nice to meet somebody, and it keeps us fresh too.
Hmm.
As you know, as a therapist, it keeps us fresh when we're constantly meeting new people, and that's good for us. But I don't think like it's good if we start doing our job because like when I think about what I do and what I could have done, so I mentioned my husband. We've been married since October. That he was my sixth first date through online. So that means I had 5 other ones. And all of them were really like nice. Like that's all I can say, nice. There was just like no chemistry. But there was this one guy, he was a doctor, and he just did not shut up. He just went on and on and on. And I thought, and it wasn't about like relationships or anything, he wanted to talk about medicine. And I was like, this is kind of boring. But then I thought, wait a second. He's a dermatologist and a plastic surgeon. I can learn some stuff here. So, for me, I use that hour as like a free session for me, like learning about the newest stuff in skincare, which is probably
What?
awful. But I was there already, and I knew I didn't like. I mean, didn't like him, but
Yeah.
but I was there already, but another guy started off telling me about his relationships, and I just said, "Whoa, I don't do relationships on the first date." You know, I do that maybe on
Mm.
date 3 or 5 or 9. And he just
Mhm.
started to laugh. 9? Where'd you come up with that number? And I said, I just made it up. Um, but it shut down that part of our conversation because what I do is like very empathetic too, like with people's
Yeah.
feelings and wanting them, you know, they've come out of relationships or they've been single a long time or they were widowed and I want to help. Um, but I make sure I always tell people, I'm not a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm here to get you out on good dates and you take it from there.
Yeah.
You take it from there.
So, would you recommend for us to not just okay, so first dates. So I'm not just stopping at this one because it seems to be good. I continue to date, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Do not stop. Do not stop. That is the kiss of death because you're putting, all all your eggs in one basket. Is that how they say it? All your eggs in one
Mhm.
basket, like, oh, he's it. No, you keep dating. And you know what? There's just something about you that he'll probably know you're still dating. And if it turns out he's the one, eventually down the line, you will have that conversation. We're exclusive. We just want to see each other. We both took our profiles off whatever dating site we were on.
Mhm.
It'll just come very, very naturally.
Mhm.
But in the interim, absolutely keep dating. When somebody tells me after one date, I think this is it, I listen to the date. I listen to what they liked about them. I ask any red flags at all, any orange flags, any yellow flags. Um, and if they say no, and then they'll be like, "Do you think I should hide my profile online or pause?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely not. You are going to keep dating." And we today on our coaching call, we are going to look at least 3 men and send messages to them and get you, out there more and more and more. But just to stop, no, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's good because a lot of times we'll get really excited and we'll think, "Oh, this is the one," and I don't want to ruin it by going. But I'm like, "No, you're really single until you married or until you're in an exclusive relationship. So why would you stop dating?"
Exactly. Why would you stop dating? There's no reason to stop dating.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't know. I mean, this might be, I'm glad you had a great date and it was 2 hours long. And I always tell people online dating, there's like three real very important components, my 3 Ps. It's like perseverance, it's patience with the process, and then it's promotion. Like you have to be your own influencer online. I mean, if you're on any social media, if you're on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever you're on, you're used to promoting, yourself. And
Mhm.
that's one thing I talk about in the book too, is how to be your own influencer and go out on more dates and not stopping after that one great first date, because
Mhm.
all it is one date so far.
What would you um what advice would you give to someone who starts to feel overwhelmed with the process of just the online dating?
I would slow them down. That's the number one thing. If they're getting overwhelmed with the process, because the reason they generally get overwhelmed is because the site turns into a mess, because there's people who have liked them, there's people they have liked, there's like these conversations that are just hanging out there, and you've got to, and then there's these people they've saved. And this this drives me crazy when clients say, we'll look at a man together online, and I have a scoring system, and this is where I think people get mixed up. I have a scoring system of 1 to 100. So when we're looking at, and I'm just using men as an example right now, we're looking at a man online, and we've looked at his photos, we've glanced at his profile, we've made sure he's a subscriber to the site, very important that he has, again, money in the game, skin in the game. Then I'll say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 100, where does this man fall? And 1 being never ever in my life, 100 like I'm buying the wedding dress today, which never happens. And so how many people are going to be in that 80-90 range? Hardly any. How many are going to be in that 50 to 60 range? A lot of them. And those are the ones when people get like, flustered or overwhelmed with online dating, it's because of that percentage, that group of people. And what I say about those people, so we're not sure. So we are not going to throw out my message about lunch Thursday or Friday. We're going to throw out a nice comment about something and then 1 or 2 questions just to see how they answer them and get more information and see, do they move up to a 70 now, or did they just fall below the 50 mark where we just block and delete them? So that's where people get really overwhelmed, where they're like, there's all these people, there's all and those people that save people, I'm going to save them. And I said, you don't save people, because when you go back in to find him again, he's gone. Good luck finding him again. Somebody else might have scooped him up, or his membership ended, or you don't know what happened. So it's when people get overwhelmed, it's usually because they're not navigating online dating the right way.
I want to ask you, where does the self-care come in at when it concerns online dating? And what would you tell a client about the self-care concern and like incorporating it into the online dating? Because someone that is in our age group, and I use myself as an example. So I'm busy a lot of times, and so now we're gonna throw in the dating, and it's like, oh well, Mondays I normally do this, but now I'm going on a date. When am I gonna have time for myself? What does that look like, and how do you incorporate that in with your coaching?
Okay, so yes, you have to have time for yourself. You have to have time for self care, and self care is a lot of things. Self care could just be time alone. Self care could be time with your children. Self care could be time with your girlfriends. Self care could be getting a facial. Self care could be your meditation, your yoga. It could be so many different things. So what I tell people is stick to your normal schedule as much as possible. And what I think people end up doing, it's not so much the dates, because you can handle 1 or 2 dates a week. You absolutely can, and still have self-care. Where it overwhelms or takes away from self-care is when people are online every day, and they're online for like an hour or 2. That's sucking time that you could have been doing something for yourself with others that you love and care about. So my thing is, with my clients, I only let them go online 3 times a week for 30 minutes at a time. And during that 30 minutes, they're not just fooling around. They know what they have to do. They have homework. They are writing to 5 men that they've identified as good, candidates. That's all they're doing. And then they're getting off. And so you have, what is that, 90 minutes a week. So, but 3 30-minute periods, because if you just check your phone and look at your screen time, and then you look at where you spent your screen time, I mean, there's people that are spending 5 and 6 hours a day on screen time, and 3 hours of it's on online dating. Maybe the rest is on, different apps, but and different things, and Twitter and Facebook and stuff. But yeah, you've got to be very cognizant of that you're not overdoing it. The other thing is too, when you start giving up that amount of time to dating, you're going to get frustrated.
Yes, you are right. I mean, I couldn't do 10 minutes. I was frustrated. Uh, because I felt like I was could have been using the time to do other things. Okay, so I want you to tell us again about give us the name of your book, where we can find it. But I want to ask the question. I've been wanting to ask this question, but I wanted to save it to the end. So, what would you tell us ladies what to wear and what not to wear on our first dates? I'm asking you this question because I love to dress up. I love it. I got my heels on, and um when I go out, I'm just here I am. Um but it don't always go that way. Sometimes you have people like touchy, the little want hug, and am I making sense to you? Because I don't know if you saw it's Later Daters on Netflix. And one of the
Yes.
ladies you saw, and I think her name was Suzanne. I love the way she handled her first date with the lawyer because he was a little frisky. So, but that a lot of times men want to be a little frisky when, especially when you are attractive. So let's talk about attire and how we should handle ourselves and things like that. Because I don't believe in dummying myself down. I am who I am.
Yes. Okay. So it's going to depend on. Okay. So if we're going to just talk about a first date first. So on a first date, you want to dress appropriately for what you're doing. So if you're going to lunch, you are not going to be in your little black dress. You are just not going to be, you're also not going to be in your Lululemons either. You are not going to be dressed down like that. So you are going to have, maybe a cute, maybe a little sexy plunge, blouse on, a silk shirt, and it could be a cute pair of jeans with heels. I mean, jeans with heels always works with a cute, accessorized well, a cute belt. Very different if you're meeting for cocktails, like on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. Then I say, pull out that little black dress, accessorize, have the jewelry on. You can wear the stilettos if you'd like. You can probably go a little lower necked, and it's a nighttime date. So dress appropriately. Now I've had some clients who are pretty athletic, who they've already said on their first date, let's have lunch. And after lunch, let's go walk along the beach. So she knew what she was going to wear was like really, it was a cute outfit. And she also knew she was wearing like these wedge, what do you call them? Like espadrilles. And she knew she was going to take them off for her, walk along the beach. And she had a pants on that she could roll up a little bit, but she still, was dressed, in very cute clothes, but she also
Mhm.
knew what they were doing afterwards. So,
Yeah.
she wasn't in stockings, which would be ridiculous, right? Does anyone wear stockings anymore? Come on. Um, so,
Yeah.
okay. Frisky. All right, there's boundaries. And it's very common now, just in general, forget dating. It's very common. And I don't know if it's because we're out of COVID and stuff, but there's more contact where people hug. Even people meeting for the first time, they'll hug. I mean, you had a lovely date the other day that lasted 2 hours. How did it end?
We hug, but I'm a hugger.
Yeah, yeah, okay. But a lot of people are huggers, so that's like totally normal. Now, your second date with him, since you already hugged and had a good time, I think there's going to be some kissing involved, and I would not be surprised about that at all. And it would probably be totally appropriate if you both feel the same way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's walking you to your car and gives you a kiss. And I would still say on the second date, meet him there. Don't let him pick you up yet. By the third date, I think you can say, you're doing something on a Saturday night. But,
Yeah.
as far as, somebody who's getting handsy or frisky, uh, you, hey, is that somebody you really want to see again? If it's on a first date, the answer is probably no, because if he's
Mhm.
doing it with you, he's doing it with all of his dates, right?
Oh, please say it again. I want us to scream it at the top from the top of the mountains. If he's doing it with you, he's probably doing it with somebody else.
He is doing it with somebody else. And so, you can just firmly remove his hands. And you know what? And then don't feel bad at all about saying, it was very nice to meet you, and I wish you the best of luck online. Thanks for the drink.
Yes. Yeah. I have enjoyed this conversation with you because one of the common themes that I have gotten thus far is that working with you are going to bring out the confidence in a woman. Because she needs confidence in who she is, and she needs to know who she is in order for her to even set those boundaries that you're talking about, or for her to be able to hit the block and delete button.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Confidence. And the only way you get confidence is practice. And practice, the only way that you do have get confidence in dating, especially when you haven't done it for a long time, is practice. And you've got to get that practice. And you know what? It does help to have a coach. It does help to have a cheerleader on your side. But I'm also not my client's best friend. So I'm not going to be like, oh, Brianna, you're just wonderful and beautiful, and everything is just, unicorns and rainbows and sunshine, and you're just, everything. No, I'm going to be like, okay, now what I hear from you is you said this, and I think on the next time that happens, I want you to do this. So, I'm a little more graciously direct. That's probably a good way to
Yes.
say it.
Yes. But I think that's what we need, right? We don't need nobody to tell us yes all the time when we're out here failing at this online dating. We're doing
That's right.
something wrong.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, I want to see people succeed. 65% of my clients are in relationships. I've had over 10,000 marriages. I mean, that makes me, I've been doing this for 30 years too. But, that makes me so happy that people have gotten married and, yeah. And that when people are in relationships, or when I get Christmas cards, we just came off Christmas. And I get Christmas cards, and they're like showing a picture of the two of them together, and I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
yay, yay! I remember you back when you said there
Yeah.
were no men in the world for you, and now look at you.
You
So
can down to a person. So I want you to give us the name of your book and all the outlets we can get it from. Because I would love, 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 love to have you back once we all get the book and we go through it. I would love to have you back. So tell us where we can get your book. Tell us the name and where we can get it
right.
from.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, and I would love to come back. I'd like talking to you too. So the name of the book, it's easy to remember, Second Acts, because we're all in our second act. So it's Second Acts: Winning Strategies for Dating Over 50. So really, it's for over 40, but I just said winning dating strategy. So it's Second Acts, strategies, winning strategies for dating over 50. And it has 166 very common sense strategies that are very practical to get you back to dating. You can get it everywhere. It's Barnes and Noble, Amazon, you name it, you should be able to find it. It's all over the place. So you can order it and have it tomorrow.
Well, good, 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 good. So we're gonna. I will have the link in the bio. Tell us if one wanted to hire you to help them on their journey. How do they get in contact with you?
Go to my website. My website's 33,000dates.com. So that's how many people I've set up. Just so you wonder where did this number come from? Well, it's over now, 33,000 now, but go to 33,000dates.com. There's a link where you can schedule a 15-minute phone call with me. And then we can chat a little bit, and I can see, if we're a good fit, if you think we're a good fit, and if I think I can help.
Good, good, good. Thank you again for joining. I am excited. I'm excited for those of you who are listening. I know that this is a season for you to find true love, and most definitely do not count yourself out. As Andrea, y'all, I'm gonna cut that up. Andrea said, we all have a chance at love, and with the right coach, we can win. Until next time, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us and being our guest today. Until next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Haven for Soul Care. We hope today's conversation has provided you with the encouragement and tools to take care of yourself and embrace the journey ahead. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who may benefit. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Take a moment today to nurture your soul. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.